Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what's going on behind the scenes for the web page. And let's talk about markup languages and using markup languages for structure. So a markup language is a coding system that uses tags, and that's kind of the key word that I want you to get from this, tags, to provide instructions about the appearance, structure, and formatting of a document. There are a variety of markup languages you may have heard of or may not, HTML, XML, XHTML, and WML. So what we're going to focus on is HTML, and we're mostly going to think about using HTML to mark up the structure, not really the appearance. It does affect the appearance, but we're going to think of it to mark up the structure of a web page. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. The current standard is HTML4. Maybe by the time you see this, it is 5. When we create pages in Dreamweaver, it is actually HTML5. So what's the difference? HTML5 has some tags that didn't exist in HTML4. Most of them can be used in the majority of the browsers. If you're unsure if there's a tag and you know there's HTML5, first of all, I'm going to be always pointing you to the W3 school website, and that always, for every tag, there is going to tell you if it's compatible with which browsers. But you can also go to a website, caniuse.com, and that's going to tell you if you can use that HTML5 in various browsers. So easy ways, lots of easy ways to find these things out. So we're going to use HTML for the content on the page. And we're going to mark it up with, as I already mentioned, tags. And so HTML tags define the format and organization of a web page. So for example, if you want something to be a list item, it's going to have tags. It's going to get wrapped around the LI, which stands for list item, tag. And as you can see here, the difference between an opening tag and a closing tag. The closing tag has a /. Or this is another example of something that would be a heading 1. And it is larger, as a heading 1 is by default larger. So this is the opening H1 tag and the closing H1 tag. And all of my text, everything on my page is going to get wrapped in the HTML tags if it's all HTML. Other tags, we'll talk about in a second, can go within the HTML. So HTML tags, the starting tags that we're talking about, have opening and closing tags, and they get wrapped around the item that you're actually going to see on the page. So that's the content of our page. So when we start off and we think about all the text, all the images, all the stuff that's going to get put onto the web page, that's the content, and that's what we're going to wrap HTML tags around. We're going to mark up all that content with HTML. So what's a paragraph? Mark it up as a paragraph. What's going to be a heading? Mark it up as a heading. What's going to be a list item? Mark it up as a list item, and so on and so forth. In terms of the structure of the page, here's an example. This is what your beginning page will look like, starting page opening up in Dreamweaver. The doc type at the beginning says this is an HTML5. And as you can notice, everything here, I don't really have a lot of content or much, but opening HTML tag, closing HTML tag. So now I'm going to start talking about some other tags. At the top here, we have our head tags, and then we have our bottom tag. So the bottom, or sorry, not bottom, body, the body tag. The body tag, and I have an opening body tag and closing body tag, is where all of our content is going to go. So when you're working in Dreamweaver, first we're going to start out in the design view, and then you're going to work in the split view so you can see where this is in code. But when you type something in the design view, some text, that text is going to show up between the body tags. I'm going to add an image onto my page. That image is going to show up between the body tags. So all the content on the page, everything that we see there, when I look in the code view, it's going to appear between the body tags. So all of our HTML, since our HTML marks up the content, will also be between the body tags. And here we can see an example of an HTML tag, the LI tag, and that's wrapping around something that says a list item, and that is within the body tags. The CSS, which stands for Cascading Style Sheets, is going to be used to design the page. So using rules to standardize the appearance of web page content. by defining styles for elements such as all those HTML tags. So we're going to start off with just learning HTML. You're going to start off with learning the paragraph tag, the H1 tag, the list item tags, the break tag, the horizontal rule tag. All those things have default looks. And those default looks, by the way, are different in different browsers. So how do you standardize those looks, and how do you get those looks to be the way you want? For example, a heading 1 and paragraphs, they always have, browsers give them space before and after them. So if you want to be able to control that space, maybe I don't want my heading 1 to have all that space underneath it. So I can use CSS to control that. Or exactly what size text should my heading 1 be, and exactly what font should my heading 1 be, or what font should my list items be, what font should my paragraph be. We're going to use CSS to make all those decisions. And in addition, margins and padding, so spacing. This is going to be one of the key elements you're going to use to design your page, and this is going to be done with CSS. But for example, my paragraph, maybe I want all my paragraph text to have 20 pixels of padding, which is just like spacing, to the left and to the right of it. Or my image, which is HTML, it's going to have an HTML tag wrapped around my image, which is the IMG tag. I want to make sure that I never have text right next to my image, so I can use CSS to add 20 pixels of padding to my image. So any image I put on the page will never have text go next to it. The positioning, so do I want to have things horizontal on my page? Do I want to have them vertical? Do I want to have one picture that just always stays on the bottom? So on and so forth. Background colors, all the colors, my font colors, all that sort of stuff. A gradient, all that, that's all controlled by CSS. Where do we find CSS on the page? That's between the head. So again, the content, the HTML, is between the body. The CSS is going to be between those head tags. In your first practices, you don't have to put you're not going to do this when you're doing it in your the editor. As soon as you get into Dreamweaver, though, that's when I want you to pay attention to these head tags and the body tags. So here's an example. I have my opening head tag and I have my closing head tag. And within that, I have my style tags, and within that, I have an example of some CSS. The body is the entire page, and I've given my entire page a background color. So CSS goes between the head, and HTML goes between the body. Scripting languages are programming languages programming languages used to write short programs called scripts. So typically, scripting languages are used to make your page more dynamic, so some kind of interaction. Some that you may have heard of are JavaScript, ASP, PHP, MySQL, things like that. We're going to talk about jQuery, which is a JavaScript library. So, and this is going to be towards the end of the semester after the midterm. jQuery takes a lot of common tasks that require many lines of JavaScript code to accomplish and wraps them into a few lines of code. So we'll start looking at some later on, and that's what we're going to use for some interaction and be able to do a lot of fun things with your web pages. One of the first things I want you to do is to start looking at web pages, websites that you like, and trying to figure out how they build them. So at the very end, I'm going to talk about how to do that. But what are you going to be looking for? I'm willing to bet that if you look at a website that has images sliding across the screen, or like fading in, or any kind of like smooth, kind of cool interactions, they're probably using jQuery. So when you look at their code, probably up in the beginning, you're going to see this kind of reference here. So you're just looking for the word jQuery. And so this is actually where, to get jQuery to work, you have to have a link to that library. And so this is a link to the jQuery library that's being hosted elsewhere. So we're just kind of looking within our script here. We're looking for that term jQuery, and that lets us know this web page is using jQuery. So that location summary, I know I keep saying it, but there's a reason for it. So we're going to start out in Dreamweaver in the design view, but I really want you to start working in the code pretty soon. So I want you to understand the CSS goes between the head tags, the HTML goes between the body tags. jQuery, you're going to find, you're going to look right up at the top, right after that opening head tag, and that's probably where you're going to see a reference to the location the jQuery library is being referenced to. So you could look up at the top, but then you'll also look for scripts that might be up at the top, might be all the way at the bottom. So you're just kind of looking, you're going to start looking at the pages and looking for the term jQuery. It's just another thing. CSS is going to be wrapped in the style tag. jQuery is wrapped in the script tag. HTML is between the body tags. So how do you view a web page? You're going to right-click, depending on the browser, but most of the time you just right-click and you say View Source. And I have an example here to a past student, his portfolio. We'll pull that up, but then we're also going to look at the HPCC. So this is his portfolio, which is kind of cool for a bunch of stuff that he did in these classes. So let's say I'm looking at a project like this and I say, I wonder, what is this? How did he do this? So now I'm going to close that out. I'm going to right click and choose View Page Source. And right up here at the top, I do see the term jQuery. So that tells me that he's using jQuery on the page. And I see this is wrapped in the script tag. And I am right after the beginning head tag. And so all the stuff that I see up here, I'm in the head tag. This is all CSS. And then as soon as I see the opening body tag, the stuff down here is all the HTML. And this is referencing all of the actual content on the pages. Let's go over to the Hudson Valley website. And I'm going to right click and choose View Page Source. And so up here we have our scripts, and pretty sure they're using jQuery too, but what I really wanted to do was to get down and to show you in the body tag. Let's go through here. So we have our dates. I think I already passed it. Just want to go up to the top. Here, these are all list items where it says about, academics, admissions, athletics. That's this. All of these are list items. So you're going to wonder, why do I keep talking about list items? I don't even want to style my page with list items. Well, this doesn't look like a list item, does it? They are list items. List items are exactly what you think I'm talking about, and that's just, they look like list items with little bullets until you style the list item with CSS. So this is actually marked up with HTML, this text, to be a list item, but then it looks like this because the CSS styles it and creates the design to make it look like that. And if I go up here, you can see so alumni, faculty, this is all the HTML that we see that's on the page, and this is within the body tag. So this is a really good practice for you. Just find some websites that you're kind of interested in, right click and see what terms, what you can see if anything, actually even if you look at the HTML, some of it is just kind of like English. See if you can figure out like P for paragraph or the headings or the list items, and just start looking at web pages and dissecting them and see what you can figure out. All right, I'll see you in the next video.